This report reveals a golden opportunity for the Los Angeles Dodgers as their search for a closer continues. And with recent moves across the MLB and also what history has to show between the Dodgers and this player, things are heating up. We're going to be breaking it all down here in this video, as well as going over why things are getting quicker and quicker in the market. And like I said, we're going to break it all down here in this video. Before we do jump into it though, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you one favor, and if you haven't already, be sure to hit the sub button. Join me and Jace here on the channel. We're covering everything Dodgers, and with the market heating up already across the MLB, the Dodgers are still remaining pretty silent. But on that note, things are heating up quick in Dodger land, and it really all starts with this report here from The Athletic. The Los Angeles Dodgers are projected for Robert Suarez. Now, this came out on Black Friday. It was their Black Friday, what teams would get in the market, what their predictions are, and the Dodgers have Robert Suarez over many other names. And this is an interesting one. We've spoken about Robert Suarez here before. I feel like the decision for a lot of Dodgers fans was unanimous that we don't really want Robert Suarez after what went down between him and Ohtani, him and the Dodgers in the meeting with the Padres. But some recent stuff has continued to come out, revealing a lot of people are not necessarily thinking about that too much longer. I'll touch on that here in a few moments. But before we do, Robert Suarez adding to this bullpen would be an incredible fit. I feel like that is a pretty unanimous decision, regardless of the person. The player is great. You see what he's done. He's been very consistent over his few years in the MLB, and for a player of his caliber, his status, he would fit very well into this bullpen as a closer and setup. A guy that can go a little over 9 innings, the ninth inning if needed. Need him to come in for 4 or 5 outs, he can do so. And really, he's just a player that I think a lot of teams will be looking for in the market for the bullpen, as a few names have already dropped off of that list now with free agency underway. And looking at how Robert Suarez has performed over these past 4 seasons, but really the last 2 being the main ones to take a note on here. 2.97 ERA this year, a 2.77 last year, and going on to the whip as well, much better this season. So regardless of what happened on the ERA side, 40 saves, 36 saves in those respective seasons, he has been incredibly consistent, but also an excellent pitcher when it comes to shutting games down. And that's what the Dodgers need. Whether or not the idea of Tanner Scott remaining a closer or even, any part of a clutch person on this team still remains up in arms, and nobody really knows what the plan is going to be. And from everything that we have seen, it seems like the Dodgers are disregarding what Tanner Scott brought before his extension, and now just putting him as a different role. Now, going in as well, this is what we have from Andy McLeod, who did put this article out on The Athletic. The Dodgers would like to improve the outfield and find a closer. The team would prefer to get younger around the diamond, although that is a hard thing to accomplish through free agency. He goes on by saying this: the same story is with Edwin Diaz. Do the Dodgers want to enter another long-term pact with a reliever after watching Tanner Scott combust in 2025? Of course, Diaz has a much more accomplished resume than Scott, but so does Suarez, and he'll likely cost less for fewer years than Diaz. And that right there is the difference maker. They don't have to put a whole lot of resources into someone like Robert Suarez, who at a shorter term, a cheaper price, you can figure out if it's working or not very quick. If he doesn't, if he's somewhat not what you want, the trade market is always there for someone who could be a rental for other teams. That's something that the Dodgers don't want to think about, but if it comes down to that, that is a possibility. Plus, we've seen Robert Suarez, as a little bit older of a guy, still be very good, be very, very consistent over these past 2 seasons as well. And even though there is some history with him and Ohtani, him and the Dodgers, we got to remember this from the All-Star game. Ohtani kind of just mocking being hit by the pitch. I don't think there was any bad blood between these two in specific. We saw him come out, Robert Suarez, say, why would I throw at him? There's obviously a warning out there. I wouldn't do that. And although he may have said that, might not have meant it, it was the Padres versus Dodgers. I don't really know what we expected to happen. We know how big of a rivalry that is. So I think it was tempers flaring, but I really do think there is no backing behind that. And it's starting to seem like that on Twitter as well, especially with everybody really coming out and saying, why would he actually go ahead and do that? I don't really think there's any backing behind it. So I want to know what you guys do think about that, if there was any intent behind it in the latter term. I really don't think so. But at this point right now, it really does seem like the Dodgers will be going out and doing anything they can, and especially with these two moves over the past couple of days. Ryan Helsley a few days ago was signed by the Baltimore Orioles, and just yesterday, last night, Devin Williams was signed by the Mets, taking 2 of the 4 top closing or relief arms out of the picture. So really, if the Dodgers are legit contenders and they want to be again, with a much needed increase to the bullpen, specifically the closer, they're relying on 2 names at this point: Robert Suarez and Edwin Diaz. And like we saw that Athletic article come out and say, do you really want to go ahead and risk another major contract with Edwin Diaz? Although the resume is there, we know what he'll likely do, but there's the option: cheaper, shorter term for not necessarily as good, but very, very good production in a closing role in Robert Suarez. So I feel like at this point right now, the option is there. The option is there to go ahead and get Robert Suarez a much cheaper price. Current market value is just under $17 million, but at this point right now, and like I've said, once one domino falls, the market is going to get desperate. So you're going to see teams likely be willing to overpay. So even though the market value is around $17 million, certainly seems like it will be probably closer to 18, 19, perhaps even 20 million if it does come down to it. And it all depends what happens with Edwin Diaz. If he goes first, you may see this increase heavily as well. You see the market value, one more thing as well, kind of that 4 years. Dodgers don't necessarily need to go out for 4 years. I don't see that really being the case, especially for the Dodgers, as Robert Suarez is currently 34, will be 35 by the time the season starts. So it would be, 39 when this contract expires. Not exactly what the Dodgers are looking for on that sense, but all signs are really pointing towards a move being made soon, and having it between either not just Robert Suarez or Edwin Diaz. They're the 2 options. At this point right now, there are some others. They are not really needle movers for the Dodgers, but if the Dodgers are looking for this needle moving closer, they're left with 2 options. And like I said, I think this is a big sign as to where the respect is after that incident, so everything should realistically be put behind as to what happened. Of course, the suspension that he had and whatnot, but that's history. A new team would obviously be another chance for a three-peat. I'm sure Robert Suarez wouldn't mind joining the Dodgers for an opportunity for another World Series. But ladies and gentlemen, I want to know what you guys think here in the comments below. I'm going to ask you this question: are you now open to the Dodgers signing Robert Suarez? And I also want to know, if you said no on the previous video, if your opinion has changed after about 2 weeks, 3 weeks at this point, with the market still being open and the Dodgers yet to make a huge move. So let me know what you think in the comments below. That is all I have here in this video. If you did enjoy, give it a like, hit the sub button as well. I'm signing out. Thank you for watching. Hope you have a great day. See you later.